Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Court of Swords. We're going to start the show officially after we talk a little bit about some news that happened over the weekend. I'm sure most of you know, if you're watching this, as we're recording it on Tuesday. Saturday morning, I believe it was, Geoff iNcontroL Robinson passed away. He was a friend of the show and really a staple of the RollPlay brand and kind of everything that I've done in content creation. So we wanted to just talk about it amongst the five of us before we officially started the show and kind of go around and share our thoughts. Some of us have done this individually on our own channels already. Some of us have not. And some of us might not share much because I think we're still all a little bit shocked and spooked and freaked out about the whole deal because it was very sudden. He passed, by the way, from a blood clot in his lungs. And they tweeted out from his social media account that he went there was no pain associated with it apparently. So it was very calm, I guess, when it came to how he passed. But yeah, it sucks. It's really shitty. Obviously, like I said, Geoff has been with us since the very beginning of RollPlay. He started on the original show with myself, Jen, Ryan, Neil, and we kind of built the brand out of that show. And before that, we did State of the Game together. He's kind of always been around in all the big moments when it came to content creation. So I think it's safe to say without Geoff, we probably wouldn't be able to do this show and we wouldn't be doing it here. If you've never seen any shows with Geoff on it, he was on Court of Swords for 3 weeks where he popped a bunch of heads off with a rapier and
using specialty
decapitated them. Yeah.
I had completely forgotten about that meme until recently where someone was talking about rapiers being a decapitating weapon. I was like,
yeah,
oh, that was a Geoff. Yep.
His character's name was Janus. Was that right? He was a ranger.
Janus. We spent a long time arguing about how to pronounce his character's name. Yes.
I think I ribbed him and said Janus, but that's kind of what Geoff was about. He always had either a laugh because of him or directed towards him, as well as an argument or two. Adam can attest to that with the GM lawyering on shows like this and also on Swan Song. So, yeah, it really sucks. I think the last time he was on the show was probably Blades with Zeke. I think was the last time. We might have done a one shot. I think we did a one shot with the old crew once after that. But yeah, it's kind of open floor. This is not scripted or anything. We didn't really plan what we were going to talk about here. So feel free to jump in, whoever wants to. And if there's not much else to say, then we can kind of cut back and roll the intro and roll the hype song and all that stuff. But by all means, whoever wishes to jump in, now's the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump in. I got some things to say. Like, so obviously for me, like Swan Song is kind of where I got started doing all of this, like with roleplay and streaming in general, and getting to play alongside Geoff from the get-go was a real treat. I mean, for me, what's been really interesting the last couple of days is just how many people have come forward and been like, yeah, this is the first thing I ever saw. Like Mr. Sicarian is like, I came here because of Geoff and his characters and like the way that he played.
Oh yeah.
And it's honestly, it's been just so like, I've had like family members pass away before and this kind of thing has happened, but it's never been a situation where I feel like I'm sharing the bad feelings with so many people.
Right.
Like it's very interesting seeing the community just like sharing clips from the shows. And I've had some people send me, fan art of Geoff's characters that they've made over the years. I think the one of the first things that I did after finding out what happened was I went back and I watched the little animatic that a fan made for his big moment, Mr. Sicarian's big moment in Swan Song, the Titanfall video. And
yeah.
I've watched it 6 or 7 times since then, and just I've been thinking a lot about how what I loved about playing games with Geoff was that he, more than maybe anybody else I've ever played with, he knew how to control the spotlight. Like he knew when it was his turn to jump up and have his big moment and make everybody laugh or get the whole room to quiet down with a moment of drama. But he was also really, really good at passing it around, at supporting other characters. And I think that, that's a really fantastic thing to be able to do, right? To share, making other people look good and not just take over for yourself. He's obviously going to be like hugely missed by all of us. I won't be able to think about streaming role-playing games or any of this stuff without thinking of Geoff. He was a creative, hilarious, generous guy, and we're all less well off for having lost him. But it is kind of magical that we have so much to go back to.
Oh
right?
yeah.
That if I find myself, missing having him to drive us to tears. I was saying to JP not that long ago about how I think more than anyone else, Geoff was the one that could turn Wheat into a total like crying mess.
Right.
Like there are so many episodes where Marcus could just do nothing, but fall out of his chair. And it's really great to be able to go back and to relive those things. Obviously, it's no replacement for the real Geoff, but it's really kind of a blessing to be able to have that for those days where it feels like we really miss him.
Yeah.
I count myself lucky just having been able to role play with him on Court of Swords, having some, like you said, he just had a good give and go, and he drove the narrative forward. He was, a lot of
Geoff
times
did not want to fuck around, man. We can
get stuck, doing like random bullshit or whatever we're doing. But he was like, nope, this is what we're doing. This is what we're going to do. Sometimes to a fault.
Yeah.
But man, he knew how to keep it going and be able to keep that give and go while being a big personality and a big character in his characters and embodying them. Like you said, he knew when to pass the torch. He knew when, the ebb and flow of that kind of thing. And I count myself very, very lucky to have been able to even role play with him on Court of Swords.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was particularly true with Blades. That show in particular, like the spotlight was shared very evenly across everyone on that show, and Geoff was, I think, a big part of that. Even though I think his character probably had like the biggest storyline or the focus of the storyline a lot of times, he had no problem kind of sitting back and letting Zeke or Anne or Wheat take that spotlight on any show. I mean, you can go back and watch those episodes, and he was passing it off. And so I think that was a lot of fun to watch that. I think some of the other stuff, like I said in the beginning, we're all still a little bit shocked, but the one thing that I've thought about the most, and I've shared this with Adam and with Wheat, the one thing I've thought about the most is Geoff was a huge fan of like really fucked up comedy. And so the amount of jokes that have entered my brain with his passing, in a month or so, I'll share some of those because it's too fresh right now. I'd feel a little bit awkward doing it, but man, well, I can only see Geoff finding the humor in this, if there is such a thing.
Well, if you go back and you watch, and JP, we were talking about this yesterday, if you go back and you watch the arc that we would end up calling the Ballad of Brumpo Tungus from Swansong, Geoff would do this thing, and this is what made him so funny. He would do this thing where his mouth would start going before his brain was thinking about what he was saying. And so he would just start rambling. And if you watched his face while he was doing it, you could tell he didn't know what was next. He was like, I don't know what the next thing I'm going to say is, but I'm going to say it. And there was nothing anyone could do but just watch him like wander around the inside of his brain saying hilarious stuff. And it was I don't think I can think of anybody who made me laugh hard enough to tear up as often as Geoff did. Yeah.
Yeah. There was, I'll share one of the comments that Sean actually picked up on, Day 9 picked up on, that I think we were laughing about Sunday evening. So a while back ago, I think about a year, maybe a little bit more than that, I had texted Sean, and I forgot what it was about. Maybe it was about some show that the two of them were on. Oh, it was actually about bringing Sean onto Court of Swords, now that I think about it. So that was 2 years ago or something like that, because we went from Geoff to Sean. And I said, I texted him when we were live on air on Court of Swords, and I said, Sean, Geoff died. So, and then I didn't text anything after that.
Oh, God, that's right. I remember.
And so Sean was on air at that time.
Oh, fuck.
Sean was on air at that time and had like pretty much a full panic attack and breakdown, as he would do, when he got that call. And I didn't mean for that to be the case. I did not mean for that to occur. And I remember he like stepped away and he went to a break. And he called me while I was on air, maybe during the break at Court of Swords. He's like, dude, what the fuck happened? And I meant like, yeah, he died. Like Adam rolled really well and his character passed away.
God.
And Sean, you fucking asshole. God, fuck you, man. And he hung up. And he went back on his stream, and the irony, I think, in all of that, and this again, very dark humor. So I apologize if this is offensive to anyone. Sean was actually the one that called me to let me know that
Right.
Geoff had passed on Sunday. But Sean had the courtesy while I was live to say, hey, end your stream and call me. He wouldn't tell me what happened until
Yeah.
I was off air. And so I thought in some fucked up, twisted way, like that was Geoff getting back at me for what I did to Sean last year. It's kind of how I looked at that. And I was like, that's pretty perfect. If there is such a thing to say about that.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
yeah. So I've just been finding little things like that pretty humorous the past 4 to 8 hours. But yeah, it's still so fresh, and still I think a lot of people just haven't had time to grieve and react to it. I know I haven't.
Yeah.
Well, to speak to that, like when people in my chat started saying that, because I was live on the air on Sunday when I people in chat were saying that Geoff had died in control, all this kind of stuff, and I was like,
Right.
now, come on, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
And I had because
Yeah.
that's something like even after I looked at his post, I was like, that seems really real. I'm gonna go check around. And I had to make sure because
Yeah.
Yeah.
like his sense of humor, like I wouldn't put it past him
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
I
whip out
completely
some
thought that the
dark
tweet was a
shit
joke.
like that. Yeah,
I had the same reaction too. I didn't believe it at first, and I was, actually, when I read it, I thought initially the first thing I thought when I saw it, because I kind of skimmed through on Twitter, I thought it was announcing that because they mentioned his dog in that tweet, and I thought his dog had passed away. And I was like, wow, that's really sad. And then Amanda told me that, or I found out later, and then it was just, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was,
it's
it was a
still
rough
shocking.
reaction. But the whole thing, I think, I always say with these types of things, and I think from what I understand of Geoff is to not get too bogged down in sadness. We're still all processing it, and everybody processes grief differently. To try to celebrate his life more than anything, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And if nothing else, not take people for granted, because that it can happen so quick.
It
right?
can, yeah. I think the other thing too that Adam kind of spoke about it in terms of just the amount of people that Geoff reached throughout all of his different shows and conferences and hosting and his stint as a StarCraft 2 professional and then a StarCraft 2 commentator. Like he was everywhere, man. Like he touched so many different communities and was in so many different things. Like ESPN fucking tweeted out that he had died.
Yeah.
Which is unheard of, I think, for people in our industry, or getting to be a little bit more normal. But just a crazy thing. He had been in so many different things and really had been such a figurehead in so many different things as well. So if you only knew him from RollPlay or perhaps on his stream, like he did so much more than that in terms of StarCraft 2 casting, playing. He was a coach. He was a big part of Team Evil Geniuses before that, and kind of the success of the team and the marketability of the team. And even beyond that, I think Geoff also was a great role model to kind of show to people that like, hey, you don't have to fucking be a nerd to do what we do. Like Geoff was a power lifter. Like he was in competition and lifted weights, and a lot of weight. Like he had records and stuff set at one point.
While simultaneously having an immense 40K collection that he was very
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a goddamn Titan, and he carried that thing around like his kid. The stories that he would tell me of
talk about his
Anna.
collection.
Anna.
Every-
him and Anna
every
got into
single-
it a couple times over the Titan.
Every single pre-show, we got an update on his
Yep.
and he was like listening to someone talk about their children. He was like, "Oh, you won't even believe what the Titan did today. I won a game and then won another game. I'm just so proud of him, my little boy." And like and I think that was the thing and the reason why Geoff impacted so many people was that he always had a real driving passion for things. Like the things he loved so much. And he was just so excited to talk about them and to bring in other people. And if he found out that you liked the same things that he liked, that was it. Like he would just get on you about it and be like, let's talk about this for 7 hours, which is what made him so much fun to be around.
Yeah.
Because he was just such a passionate guy. And it was always great listening to him just tell stories about stuff. Even if it was stuff you're like, Geoff, nobody else on earth likes that. Like you're the only person who still likes Spawn, Geoff. And he'd be like, no, I don't care. It's great. I love it. And here's 15 reasons why. Yeah, it was really great.
Yeah.
I remember meeting Geoff was a big part of the reason why I started to get to know so many people on Twitch because of the Intel competition, the Intel's next top live streamer competition. Like he was the judge on that. Anna was a host. Wheat was like another host and stuff like that. And I met him, and I met Anna and Wheat, and I met Tim Tapman, and I met DM Brandon, and I met Co Carnage, and I met like so many fucking people from that show. And he was a part of it. And I remember thinking, like, when he like this dude, he's gonna be like the hardest one to crack. He's gonna be the hardest one to get to like me. And then something happened, and I turned, like, one of the judges made a comment, and I turned it around on the next cast. Like, I played, I leaned way into it. I think it was AC. I don't know if he said, like, I watched your stream, you look like a dancing monkey. So
that was
entire
AC,
stream was me like putting on a suit and
I remember that,
having monkey sounds and all this kind of stuff. And like, I earned Geoff's respect, and that was just like the best thing ever. That I could turn a joke on its head or turn a comment on its head.
Yeah.
And then from then on, it was like every time I saw him, I was like, I'm gonna try and press him. I'm gonna try him, because I think I texted you, JP, like a compliment from him. A compliment from him is worth like 100 for most other people.
Yeah.
Like when we did Blades together, and after that one episode that everybody like still talks about. Mm-hmm. After the show, he was like, "That's some of the best role playing I've ever seen." I was beaming for weeks after that. Because I was like, I admired him as a role player, and I had no idea how good he was until I got into a show with him.
Yeah, I've watched that clip since Saturday, since we learned he passed away, and it's remarkable to go back and watch him respond to you and Anne, like role playing, because Geoff wore his emotions both. And he would speak his mind immediately, but he also wore it on his face. He was very easy to tell like what he was thinking, and he was just in awe. I think during that moment for sure. So if you ever need a pick me up, Zeke, I would go back and watch a clip, and don't pay attention to you and Anne. Pay attention to Geoff.
No, I did that immediately afterwards.
Okay,
Like as soon as it's up on YouTube, I watched it a few times. It's like, that's right.
Yeah,
just sitting there watching Jeff's face. And that's the kind of guy he was, man. He made you earn that shit. He made you earn his respect. And that's like, it felt really good once you had it, like even little pieces of it, because like, we never got really close. I mean, we were friendly, but we never got really close. But those little moments are what I definitely remember.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we could probably sit here and tell stories all night about Geoff. But I don't think he would want that. He enjoyed the spotlight, but not necessarily all the time. So as he kind of practiced and as Adam referenced, I think we'll fade back to the intro or back to the start of the show. Roll the intro, which he will always be a part of. His voice will always be a part of that. And we'll get started with Court of Swords. Anyone else have anything to say before we move on? Obviously, we can bring it up whenever you want to, but now would be appropriate, I would say.
If anybody's out there who is grieving, I just want to say, like, it's okay to feel all your feelings.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Let it out.
Yeah.
All of your feelings are valid, whether they're good feelings or bad feelings, doesn't matter.
Yeah, and a great way to show that is tweet some of your favorite stuff. I've seen a ton of people do that to the RollPlay account. I've seen a ton of people just tweet out links, and I've been looking at all those over the course of the weekend and yesterday. So, by all means,
if you're at all. I had a couple of people say like, "Oh, I wasn't sure, if you'd want to see this or whatever." But if you're at all hesitant, like if you have a favorite Geoff moment, please, like I'm living for him right now. Send him our way, because that stuff, it's so nice.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's that. Thanks, Geoff. You will be missed but not forgotten. We'll be right back with RollPlay Court of Swords right after this.